Roger Griffiths from RK Recruit. How you doing, Roger?
Good to meet you, Mike. Good to see you.
Good stuff. Yeah, we'll just go straight into the questions. If you would be able to give us a bit of background as to who you are, what you do, what the business is, how long you've been doing it for, please.
So I started as an independent recruiter in 2009, self-employed, one-man band, and I have been doing that for 13 years. I work specifically in the telecommunications sales space. That comes from a background that I used to work in telecommunications when I got my first job, I suppose, back in about 97, and then learned from that experience on one side of the fence and thought, I'll take the knowledge that I have about that sector, and I thought recruitment seems to pay quite well, so let's get into that then. And the first year didn't pay that well, but year one it was okay.
Yeah, that's it. All about learning and moving on, gaining on that experience. So, in terms of COVID and the impact that had for yourself as a business owner, self-employed there, what was that biggest impact for you? Well,
I mean, as you can imagine, in recruitment, it was pretty crippling. So, there was a couple of horror stories at the very start where companies were about to employ people and they literally put the offer on hold. So left a couple of candidates just in in a grey area of not having a job, but not being able to be furloughed. It wasn't great, and then having to manage that with those candidates, and then obviously trying to manage any expectations with clients as well. And, obviously I've built a reputation with my clients, and I try to build that with my candidates that, I'm completely committed to both of them in the process. Yeah. And it's not, I'm not a recruiter that is who bases their work ethic purely on making money. It's more about, I like to think there's a long game in working closely with every candidate and creating a relationship. So when COVID hit, I had clients that wanted candidates, but no candidates would ever want to move because they were getting furloughed and there was too much of a risk. Sure. And on the flip side, I had candidates that had taken that risk, and then those opportunities were put on hold. So it was pretty, awful. But the weather was great. So we got a great tan sitting outside waiting to be told that we were going to, as independent business owners, we were going to be paid next to nothing by the government. But let's not get political.
Yeah, you quite often you see one side or the other, but then you've just described a kind of middling effect, changing jobs in that kind of recruitment angle, which is interesting. And I think people forget about that book with not nowhere to go one way or the other, which is interesting.
It's difficult, and it's difficult being in the middle of it, because obviously you're trying to manage two moving objects at the same time. That's what recruitment is, full stop. But when a pandemic or when a massive uncertainty arises, that's when it becomes far more difficult to manage. And again, looming on the horizon is more uncertainty, and there's a feeling that we could be going into another period of uncertainty. We've just seen a massive boom come out of COVID. We've seen a lot of chaotic offers and salaries and massively inflated salaries being bounded around, counter offers, etc. And then that's just flattened out to become back to what I would call probably normal behaviour for the industry. But now we've got obviously potentially recession and cost of living crisis as well. So it's literally been chaos since about 2020.
Have you had any sort of actions that you've taken or been forced to take because of the challenges that are met, that you've then kind of said, well, actually, this is a good outcome that I'm going to sort of impacts in that way?
I'll be honest, I don't know that I have changed any of my practices. I think that I've had to become far more, because obviously nobody, I'm not going to like now get my little violin out and say, oh, you know, poor old recruiters. But obviously it's quite a personal thing. As I said before about creating a relationship with candidates, the amount of candidates that we're now finding are not turning up for interviews, or are kind of almost just leaving us in the lurch without an explanation. I'm personally finding that quite hard, because I feel to myself, well, what have I done wrong that has made you feel like that? I'd understand completely if somebody's got a better offer, or, you know, they've decided to withdraw from the process. But a lot of the time we're just left sort of hanging. And I found that quite kind of really strange coming out of the pandemic. So we've had to become a little bit more, I suppose, conscious of disappointment. You know, instead of feeling that, you know, generally there's a lot of positivity when you're in recruitment. You know that you're going to get some success somewhere. There's been quite a lot of disappointment in it, and I felt that's probably one of the biggest things. So just becoming more aware that people are perhaps their attitudes have changed slightly. And that's the only thing I can really sort of say. The only thing that I've done more is probably work harder than I've ever had to work, you know, because I work in that piece of recruitment which is about headhunting and getting people to consider leaving where they are to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
So part of the job is being able to articulate and sell the reason that that person wants to leave and join this other company, because this company offers whatever it offers, and it's being more aware that people are reluctant to move, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting what you say. A lot of business owners speaking to various sectors struggling with recruitment.
Yeah.
So it's interesting hearing from your
side. It's across the board. I mean, just talking to people who bar managers, they're saying that trying to find quality employees is proving a struggle. I don't know.
Do you have your own sort of explanation as to why that may be? Because ultimately, there's still people around. There's still opportunities there, and you know, is it a mindset shift that's happened in the last?
I think there has been a mindset shift. I do think there has, but I don't have a reason why.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see any reason why there would be a mind shift. I mean, my mind doesn't seem to have shifted, so you know, I don't know why it seems to be it, but there's definitely something different that's happened since the pandemic.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm just sort of talking personally, that you, for yourself, whatever job, if you needed a job and you needed an income and you can get some experience and you can learn what life's lessons, whatever you do, you can get it. It doesn't matter what the task is, and then you can build on that and move on. And so, yeah, I find it interesting that there's a shortage of that kind of attitude out there. It seems so. I don't know why that is.
I mean, don't get me wrong. There's still plenty of it, you know, and it's probably the majority mindset. But there's just the minority mindset seems to be a bigger minority than it used to be.
I think that's a good, fair sort of summary, possibly on that. Cool, thank you. So, what does the future look like for you now? Do you see
same as it always does. It looks exactly the same. It looks like finding the next good person for the next opportunity, you know, and being able to ensure that as many people who are looking for an opportunity know that those opportunities are out there. So I think the next big things are probably I'm reassessing how I go to market with the opportunity. So I'm looking at perhaps more marketing and having a bigger presence on the likes of LinkedIn, because I've noticed that some of the articles that I've been reading are very much focused on the fact that now the way that social media is used, you have to have some element of presence on most platforms, or at least a platform like LinkedIn. And I've always kind of been someone who probably just posts job adverts, but now I think there's probably a need to have more of a presence that gives people an insight into who you are, and thereby you are selling yourself as well as what your business could do.
Cool. Thank you for sharing that. So if we were to move sort of generically a bit more as to your biggest learning as a business owner since you launched your recruitment business, what would you say that is?
I think being very structured, make sure that you've got structure to you. I mean, obviously being self-employed and being the only person who, sits in the office and is having a structure to your day and having a structure to how your business runs to ensure that you get the tasks that you need to complete completed. That's the thing, because it's very easy to let things can suddenly start to build up very, very quickly. And before you know, you're not on top of it. So as long as you have structure to how you set out your business plan and the path that you've set to achieve the goal that you have set yourself, if you've put a plan in place and you stick to it, generally you'll get there. If you just try and cobble it together, and that's probably what the first couple of years of my recruitment life was like. It was far more ad hoc, or do this, do that. But if you put structure together, then I think you can run a business effectively. Good
learning. We like that here. Action coach, obviously planning, goal setting, and trying to follow that plan. It's never a straight line, but ultimately you'll get there if you stay focused. Good stuff. Thank you. So is there any advice if you give a younger person going back, maybe or something, if they were starting a business, what sort of advice would you give?
I think if you're going to start a business and you've got that itch, then you've got to scratch it, because it will be in the back of your mind forever. And I think if you've got an entrepreneurial spirit, absolutely go for it. Because if you get some element of success out of it, you'll never look back. Being a business owner and being self-employed just affords you a completely different mindset to work and what work means. And you can only blame yourself, and you can only congratulate yourself. You have to take full responsibility for your business until you start obviously taking employees or whatever you might do. But if you just focus on the fact that it's your business, you make those decisions and survive or die by them, at least you are the one who is responsible for them. And I think that it makes a massive difference. I could go back and work for somebody, but I'd probably be constantly questioning decisions that were being made. Whereas, I only question my own decisions, if they don't sort of necessarily work out. So I think that if anybody's thinking of starting out in business, 100% go for it, but commit 100% as well, because if you don't, you'll find probably more than likely that you'll struggle if you're not 100% committed. And you're going to have to work hard. That's, the flip side of it. But it's easily achievable. And once you do, the benefits of being self-employed, I personally feel, outweigh being employed by, an employer.
Good advice. Thank you very much. Like that share. And what inspires you? Is there anything sort of you read, or people that you work with, or your friends, your family?
I mean, obviously my family inspire me, but yeah, I mean, I looked at this question thinking to myself, what does inspire me? And I don't know. I mean, I enjoy what I do. I think that's probably the main thing that is my driver, is that I enjoy it. It's frustrating at times. It's worrying at times. I wake up in the middle of the night and think, how are we going to, pay the mortgage sometimes? Not that often, but sometimes. And I just think that I enjoy doing it when it's successful. It's great, and you build relationships with people when you talk about something that you've created, which is your own business, and you can talk about it with pride. And I think that kind of really that's what drives me on. I suppose I wouldn't call it inspiration, but it's something that's something that's I like about business.
Motivational. Cool, thank you. So lastly, is there any sort of latest news around your business, or even touch or anything like that you to share?
No, I mean, Not particularly, you know, we don't really do offers or anything like that.
Yeah, yeah, I can understand nature of business.
You know, it's kind of business as usual. You know, I don't know why I keep saying we, but then
what you do is just yeah. I work by myself, and
I sort of say we because I do collaborate with other agencies, you know, and we sort of, you know, will work on things together. So that's the we. So, you know, I might talk to another 3 other agencies. So, but you know, I'm good at what I do. I think, you know, I think I provide a good service, and yeah, I think that I provide an honest approach to what I do, so that, you know, candidates aren't left in the dark about, you know, where they are, whether it's good news or bad news. And you know, yeah, I think we're not bad at what we do.
Good stuff. Roger, thank you very much for your time. All the best with everything, and yeah, hope it goes from strength to strength for you.
Thanks very much. My pleasure.